In this video, we're going to drill down on the innovation code, and we're going to talk about the first of the two fundamental conflicts, constructive conflicts, positive tensions between the four worldviews. And this is the conflict about how much innovation or the magnitude of innovation. And we're going to talk about the relationship between the forward position or the create worldview and the aft position or the control worldview. Let's start with the create worldview. This is a worldview held together by vision. I want you to think about Steve Jobs or Walt Disney or people who led their companies as visionaries. These kind of companies succeed in highly unique situations where we haven't seen things before. So this could be a situation where a miracle drug is required, or a situation where a new type of consumer electronics is required, or there's a new fashion trend. The type of organizations that succeed here are organizations that are ad hoc or adhocracies, which means they're easily flexible, they're malleable, and they're making it up as they go along. And the types of leaders who are able to lead these types of organizations are artists, and they're people who are creative, they're always trying to discover, they're always tampering with things. So the magnitude or how much innovation is very high in this worldview. The momentum or the speed is relatively medium because some stuff's going to happen tomorrow and other stuff's going to happen never. And the type of risk we're willing to assume here is very high. There's a lot of failure in this approach. That's why this approach often hedges with a lot of experiments to accelerate the failure cycle. So how, in fact, do we find our artists, and what do we do with our artists? Well, first of all, what our artists really want is our artists want to be new, and they want to discover new things. And we're going to find them in places where they take risks, in places where they get to experiment, in places where every day something is new. They're always into a new initiative, right? And we're going to find these people in organizations that do that. So we're going to find them more likely in entrepreneurial organizations, in organizations that compete on differentiation, like the fashion industry or craft beers. We're going to find them in places where people have to really look forward, like strategy or marketing, where there really isn't any data on the future. And we have to understand that what these people really want is they want the freedom to be new on a regular basis. That's what they want. Now let's look at the opposite. Let's look at the control position. And the control position is held together by process because there's a lot of complexity. So we're going to find three things in the control position. Number one, failure is not an option. If you bring that aircraft down the wrong way, bad things happen. Number two, we're going to find there's a lot of complexity. So in order to make that aircraft, there might be a million moving parts. We need a lot of process. And finally, it's a turnover or a volume business, meaning we're going to have to make thousands of these aircraft. So there's got to be something that's relatively turnkey. So this is an organization that's really designed to be predictable at scale, and they're going to be relatively cautious. So there's going to really be an effort to get rid of a lot of the deviants in the forward position. They're hierarchical, and the reason is there's a lot of roles and responsibilities. We have to know what everybody's doing, and everybody has their own specific thing they have to get done. So we're really trying to equate quality and efficiency. We're trying to find domain expertise, and that leads us to what individuals do. They're engineers that know the right way and the wrong way to do things. They look at the data, they look at the technology. So the magnitude of the innovation, or how much innovation, is relatively low, right? Because we're trying to perfect things. The speed is relatively medium because to build these platforms and systems and the technology takes a long time. And finally, the relative risk is low. So it's the exact opposite of the forward position. Where we're going to find these people are in the technical roles or the domain expertise roles. Medicine, military, accounting, where there's a right way and a wrong way to do things. They love data. They're very fluent in technology. They like to tweak things, so they troubleshoot things on a regular basis. We're going to find these people wherever there is a desire to take on increasing responsibility, right? They want to add an extra chevron to their sleeve. So this tension of how much or the magnitude of innovation, the tension between doing things that are radical with a lot of risk or doing things that are incremental with no risk, is not a bad tension. This fundamental form of constructive conflict is one of the indicators of an organization that's usually going to outperform other organizations in terms of making innovation happen. So what do we need to do? Number one, as a leader, you need to surround yourself or partner with somebody who's the opposite of you, because it's like being right-handed or left-handed. You're going to be better at one than the other, and you need to find someone who's better at the things that you're not good at. Number two, you're going to have to manage to that outcome. So one of the biggest challenges that people have is that they'll try and get one outcome by the other practices. Think about it for a minute. You want radical innovation, but what you're going to introduce is a 12-step stage gating system. You're going to get quality and efficiency, but you're not going to get radical radical innovation because that 12-step system is designed to eliminate variation. So the second piece is how you innovate is what you innovate. You have to use the proper tool for the right job. They're all good tools, hammer, wrench, screwdriver, and a saw, but they're not interchangeable. Finally, you have to understand the situation that you're in. What does the situation require? Does the situation require that we've got a startup company that's trying to get to scale? Well, then we're going to try and use that tension, and we're going to try and lean a little bit towards the control side. Or do we have a company that's maybe an old mainline company that's trying to reinvent itself? We're going to have to use that positive tension and lean a little bit towards the create side. But one size never fits all, and most importantly, we need to embrace this creative conflict. We need to enlist the loyal opposition in order to make innovation happen.